Hi, welcome or welcome back to my channel. So as you can see, I am at a completely new but probably familiar place to some of y'all. I'm back in my home in East Malaysia, in Kuching, and I am only here for like a few days for a short vacation, and then after that, I'll be going back to KL like this week, and 2 months for the next 2 months, I will be at a new place. So I'm not going to tell you where that place is going to be. I will let you know once I actually get there. But yeah, I hope that by the time I'm there, I will have some more opportunities to record videos, and more importantly, opportunities to actually read books for fun, so that I actually have something to talk about in videos. But in this video, I want to talk about two books that I read recently. So the first one I want to talk about is this one. This is by Kang. It's called Europa. It's a very short book, like super short. Like the book is only like 30 pages long. This book was originally written in Korean. Oh my gosh, why is it so? Why did it take me so long to think? It was originally written in Korean, translated to English by Deborah Smith, and this book is actually a part of something that is called the Yoyu chapbook series, and it is kind of like printed in this, I would say, creative binding method. Yeah, so it's kind of like artsy in a way. You get all of these like typefaces, and even the typeface in this book is kind of like unconventional. It's a little bit difficult for me to read, but overall, I finished it, so it was manageable. But anyway, what is Europa about? So in Europa, we kind of follows two characters. One is a named character named Ina, and another one. So Ina is a woman, and and the other character is a man. And I don't think we actually got the name of the male character. Now, both of these characters, they live in modern day Korea, and at the beginning of this book, we see how both of these characters is kind of like hanging out with each other after a breakfast, and then after that they go to Ina's house. And eventually we would learn more about the nature of their relationship and also the history of their relationship, and we start to learn more intimately about what both of these characters really desired. We learned that Ina used to be married, but the marriage wasn't exactly like a fairy tale marriage. And we also learn more about this male character and what he wants in life, and eventually the focus of the book would shift towards this male character and a particular desire of his, which relates to his sexual and also gender expression. Overall, I thought that this book was just kind of okay. I actually had fairly high expectation for this book because it was written by Kang, and I have read The Vegetarian, and so that was the only book by Kang I have read. But I thought that The Vegetarian was kind of unique. It had a certain vibe to it. It felt like there is a strong authorial voice to that book, and the imagery was, I would say, was quite excellent. So I was looking forward to reading more of that kind of style in here. But this is slightly, well, not slightly, this one is much more grounded compared to The Vegetarian. I don't think it's a spoil to say that we don't have anyone, experiencing weird diet-related things in this book. It's not about diet at all. But yeah, it is very grounded. A lot of, basically, it's just mostly realist based story. Now, one thing that I just find kind of interesting is that the story's title is Europa, and the word Europa is in fact being invoked in this book. And Europa is the moon of one of the planets. And I don't really remember whether it's Saturn or Jupiter. I think it's Jupiter. I'm inclined to say Jupiter, but if I'm wrong, then I fail astrophysics forever. But anyway, Europa is kind of being used as a symbol of a certain kind of coldness in here. And me as a reader, I certainly could feel a general sense of coldness throughout this narrative. Whether that, both of both of how it's, the good kind of coldness and less good kind of coldness. The good kind of coldness means that I could kind of feel the coldness that this book is trying to convey regarding what the characters feel about themselves and also about the world. The general kind of detached coldness that becomes kind of like the core of their hopes and desires and also aspirations. I would say what I would describe as the less good kind of coldness is that the book also left me feeling a little bit cold, as in I didn't feel very much connected with the character. Much of the description of how their struggles, the personal struggles, are being shown it feels a little bit shallow, which to me is kind of surprising because I was expecting a little bit more from this author. But, this is just like one short book. I do have another novel by her that I have on hand. It's called Human Acts. I heard that book is quite well written, so I am actually quite excited to try that one, whenever that may be. I don't think I'll be reading that book anytime soon because I'll be like moving around. But yeah, that is probably one of the books by Kang that I really want to try. But yeah, overall, maybe it's because of the nature of this work, it being a novella or something very short. It just didn't really give me something very. It didn't leave me with such a major impression. But overall, I thought it was a nicely written story. I give this one 3 out of 5 stars. So, moving on to the next one, I have this novel by a Vietnamese Canadian author. It's called Thúy or Zhu. It's by Kim Thúy. This book was originally written in French. It was translated into English by Sheila Fischman. And for the title, it's written with, it's basically this really short RU. And since this book was originally written in French, I would probably just kind of like call it Rue, but I also feel like the, both meanings of the title, Rue and also Zhu in Vietnamese, would make a lot of would have a lot of relevance to the story of this novel. So what is this book about? This book is about how a character named Nguyen An Thi, so how this character just kind of ends up leaving her home country of Vietnam sometime in the 60s, and how she ends up with her family at a refugee camp in Malaysia, and from there they are further just kind of moved to a totally different place in Canada where they would end up settling down as immigrants. And basically this book just pretty much tells us her experience going from one place to another because of armed conflicts, because of war, and how that really messes up, how that really affects her life as an individual and also their lives as a family, how that really just kind of produces this chain of negative effects on basically not just her life, but also her immediate family and also extended family's life. And also everyone around her during the time when the war happened in Vietnam. But this book is also written in a very, I would say, it's written through a very personal lens. We're looking at the events not necessarily based on the grander scale of like, hey, there is this war going on, and then after that we have a bunch of people going to a refugee camp by refugee boats, and a lot of people don't survive, and then look at how these individuals live in a totally new country with minimal support and experiencing all of these hardships and blah blah blah. It really focuses on the main character's inner reflection, inner thoughts, and all of those reflections kind of shows us what's really going on with the people around her as well, and how she just sort of changes as the events around her change, and so there is a very personal slant to it. And I feel like the fact that this book is also a semi-autobiographical novel makes it also, gives it this kind of extra intimate feel to it. Like there is a certain kind of passion or sincerity that we could feel from this story. And I just thought that it makes this, it makes the reading experience of this book really engaging. Now, onto the style of this book, I thought it was just kind of interesting because this is the second book of Kim Thúy that I've read. The first one was Ma'an, and when I first read that book, it was written in this kind of like vignette, a series of vignettes, which are loosely chronological. And similarly, this book is also written in that style. But for the case of Ma'an, maybe it was like my first time reading that book, or maybe it's just because of that book itself. I didn't really feel much from Ma'an. I didn't really connect with it. I thought it was okay. It was able to tell a story, and I thought, yeah, it was okay. But with this book, there is a certain kind of like extra depth to it. There's a certain atmospheric presence in this book that I could feel. Somehow I felt that Thúy or Zhu felt more personally immersive than Ma'an. Which was a book that focuses more on, I would say, food or something like that. And yeah, onto the title. Basically, there are two meanings to this title depending on which language you're looking at. Like, from the French perspective, rue, it kind of means something like stream. And on the Vietnamese language, I think it's pronounced Zu. It kind of means lullaby. And I feel that the structure of this book, the way that the narrative is framed, also fits both of these titles very nicely. Like, in general, like I said, this book is written in this series of vignettes, and most of the chapters are really short. And the length are also quite inconsistent. Like, you can get chapters that are like really, really, really short, and then you also can get like chapters that are like 2 pages or so. And so there's this kind of like inconsistency that kind of makes it, reading this entire book from beginning to the end felt kind of like you're experiencing some kind of this undulating up and down, like you are on a boat, and then you're just kind of like feeling the ebb and flow of the water, and at the same time there's this kind of like lilt to it as well, which kind of evokes the imagery of both lullabies and also being on water. And all of these vignettes. They are kind of connected together loosely in a chronological fashion, but sometimes you do get moments in which you jump in time, like you jump back or you jump forward a little bit and then you get back to the usual time. And so there's this kind of fluidity and also how it fluidity and how it treats time, basically. And this fluidity also kind of reminds you of that imagery of water not necessarily being like one thing connected to another very tightly, but everything just kind of like connects, like like fluids, like water. And so I felt that the way that this book was written really fits with the title, and so as a result the imagery that it evokes is just very vivid. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. I think this is a wonderful book, and it kind of makes me wonder if Kim Thúy definitely has a certain style in how she writes her novel. I know that she has other novels as well, and I'm interested to read her other books also. Anyway, these are all of the books that I want to talk about in this video. I actually have finished 2 more books, and those 2 books are also quite exciting. If you have, if you have seen my Goodreads, you probably know which books I finished. But I will talk about those books in a later video. But yeah, let me know if you have read any of these books. Let me know if you have read any other works by Kang or Kim Thúy. Yeah, and I will see you again in a totally different video. So until then, take care. Thanks for watching, and bye.